An insider boom shakalaka seems pretty bad for Switch, but actually, a PlayStation 5 Pro console is really good for Nintendo. Let me tell you why. What's going on, everybody? It's Zach from SwitchForce. Rarely do we have the opportunity to dip our toes in the waters of the station. I like the station because I love to play. And over here at SwitchForce, we do accept all consoles, even though Nintendo is our primary focus. Well, there is a big leak today from industry insider Tom Henderson and Insider Gaming talking about the PlayStation 5 Pro, which at first blush might be like, Nintendo's just trying to get to 4K, they're just trying to put out more power, and we're going to be usurped and one-upped yet again. But if we step back and consider the scenario, this actually works incredibly well in Nintendo's favor. And here's why, all right? Let me break down exactly what happened and what was revealed so that we're on the same page here. Tom Henderson is a pretty reliable industry insider. His leaks span across multiple consoles, rarely in the Nintendo space, more PlayStation and Xbox. Today, he posted a banger of a story about PlayStation 5 Pro in development, and it could release late 2024. For all you keeping track, that's like a year and a half from now, and it's not out of the realm of possibility, because the PlayStation 5 actually launched in 2020. Sure doesn't seem like it, but yeah, the console is 3 years old, and a late 2024 launch would actually be a longer gap between PS5 and Pro than it was between PlayStation 4 and Pro, which saw release dates of 2013 and 2016. So 4 years till a half step is not that crazy. And even though they are expecting another new PS5 later this year, which would be the detachable disk drive model, a source told Insider Gaming that that console is just the beginning of new hardware coming to PlayStation users this generation. And they're talking about a PS5 Pro being heavily focused on better ray tracing and upgrading the capabilities of the current PS5. They say that the specs and details are limited right now, but again, they do know that ray tracing is supposed to be a focal point. So we throw our hands up in the air and say, dang it, we can't even get a Switch 2 out and they're already on PS5 Pro. But this is good because there's a kernel in here, the end of the article, that I feel is being overlooked. The kernel is that Insider Gaming has heard that the next generation of PS6, PlayStation 6, is unlikely to release until at least 2028. That is where this gets really good. Okay, a couple of things here. The PlayStation 4 Pro was fun, but I think that actually helped allow the Switch to gain momentum. Fall holiday 2016, the PS4 Pro comes out. Is it exciting? Well, it's a hamburger, but it's not super exciting. The Switch, on the other hand, very exciting. A tantalizing new device that's hybridizing gaming. On the go, at home, the two worlds collide. Now we look at today's scenario with Nintendo almost ready to release a new console. So many rumors and reports and leaks and supposition and hypotheses, but a new console is coming at some point. A PS5 Pro, I feel, is less exciting than a PS4 Pro because even fewer gamers have their hands on PlayStation 5. With the chip shortage and with astronomical costs, it's been very difficult to acquire one of these next-gen consoles that no longer are very next-gen. But the more that this story continues to unfold in this way, where PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 5 Pro don't feel all that exciting, the better it is for Nintendo. The other side is that a PlayStation 5 Pro extends the lifecycle of PS5 long. Did for PS4 Pro, did for Xbox One X, it will for whatever Microsoft drops halfway through this generation. Insider Gaming is talking a PS6 in 2028 or 2029 or even 2030. That means if Nintendo can get their butts in gear and get this Switch 2 out at some point, let's just say 2024. I know we've been talking about a surprise end of the year 2023 launch, but let's even say 2024. Nintendo then has 4 or 5 years of at least being decently relevant. I know at this point, the Switch is long in the tooth, and we compare the Switch to the PlayStation 5, the Xbox Series X, and we say, Gazoon-tight Nintendo, what the heck did you sneeze out? But there was a time when the Switch wasn't so bad, and it actually benefited Nintendo tremendously with third parties a generation ago. Nintendo got 3 years of Switch alongside the other consoles, and even though it did have disparity in terms of power, it was closer. Now, if you think about a PS5 Pro and that backtracking the release of the next console, Now the Switch 2 has a lot more time and a lot more potential for staying power. The Switch 2 will not reach PlayStation 5 levels, but it should do 4K, it should incorporate DLSS, and it should look a heck of a lot better than what we have right now. Performance and power will boost it to be in the conversation. And even if it's like PS4 Pro level, that is still closer to PS5 than the Switch to PS5. And I bet you the Switch 2 will be closer to the PlayStation 5 Pro than the Switch is to the PS5. You see, stopgaps actually benefit Nintendo, and even if this thing comes out before the Switch 2 or after, it works well. If it comes out after the Switch 2, then there's nothing for the Switch to compete with. It's been 3 or 4 years since a console launch, and if Nintendo is indeed going to hold to what Doug Bowser said and do an exciting, surprising new way to play, well then they'll own the market whenever they do decide to drop. If somehow Nintendo delays and waits and Sony moves up the launch of the PlayStation 5 Pro, still works out great because similar to the PS4 Pro, how much fanfare is there around buying a more expensive PS5 that was already very hard to acquire and very hard to set aside the cash for? Nintendo wins in both scenarios from all directions. I really do not think there is an area where Nintendo falls flat in this conversation, especially because a PlayStation 5 Pro fully backwards compatible. This means that the same way they're making games right now will continue, and as more and more games stretch, right from Series S to Series X, PC, lower grade PC, high tier PC, PS5 Pro, this benefits Nintendo as well. The more that developers and publishers have to stretch their games, the easier it becomes to just stretch them to Nintendo Switch. I know right now the gap might seem mighty, but there was a time where the gap wasn't as mighty, and we were getting more games. We didn't get day and date, but we did get a lot of third-party releases, and I feel like all of this is coming together with an improved Switch 2, a PS5 Pro to extend the generation, and the willingness of developers to spend the money as they know Nintendo's console is successful and their audience is very rabid. So now we have a perfect storm where Switch gets better graphics, development is stretching and staying, and maybe now we can have a unification of a bunch of third-party releases and day and date. Sayonara Cloud, we don't need you, stay in the sky, rain down on me, maybe once or twice every month, that sounds fair. I like where this is lining up for Nintendo. And it's pretty cool that, hey, they're breaking a story about a PlayStation 5 Pro, but I also feel like they haven't milked the PlayStation 5. I don't think we've seen the best that PS5 or Xbox Series X can do. We'll see hopefully some really monumental games around the summer like Spider-Man 2 and Starfield launching shortly after. So a PS5 Pro doesn't feel all that necessary. I mean, everybody loves like the next big thing, but I'm telling you, the next big thing is what Nintendo does next. The Switch managed to capture all of that audience in spite of a past failure. The Wii U was not very successful, shipping around 13 million units in totality, globally. The Switch is a monster piece. It's absolutely gigantic, and so their ability to attain, retain, and maybe even gather more market share is really, really exciting. I don't know if any of you are excited about a PS5 Pro. I don't know that there's much they can do that would really incentivize a bunch of people to run to the stores to grab these off the shelves. Obviously, everybody's trying to do the next thing, more power, more beef, more money. But do you agree that a PS5 Pro is actually good for Nintendo Switch? Or do you think these companies barreling forward only shows Nintendo's weaknesses and highlights how far behind they are? I strongly disagree with that, and I do feel like extending the generation serves Nintendo well, especially if they can get that Switch 2 cooking and ready to go, especially if that Switch 2 does in fact have the graphical capabilities that we're expecting it to have. And it seems like it could be a sweet spot for Nintendo, where they've got the games, the console, and now the power too. The Triforce is established, but let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, everybody. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, stay positive out there. Until next time, SwitchForce out.